Welcome to Business Reporter's The Future of Financial Services and Banking campaign. I'm Rachel Hicks. Whether customers are paying bills, transferring funds, opening accounts or shopping online, they demand seamless banking. However, for banks delivering that experience, it isn't always straightforward. Security and regulatory compliance often seem at odds with providing a frictionless customer journey. Is it possible to achieve both? Let's hear insights from Mitek's experts, Chris Briggs, Chief Products Officer. Chris, what is it that customers want?
They want to be able to bank like they can shop online.
And can they do that?
No, it's not safe in many instances when consumers are banking online. And there are lots of fraudsters out there as well that are trying to pretend that they're consumers that often get in the way. The financial institution has to understand that they have to positively know that the person that's actually banking with them digitally, or even physically for that matter, is who they say they are. And they have to eliminate the risk that drives a less safe environment for consumers who are banking online.
Okay, so we often hear that the threat is evolving to our security in banking. What does that evolution look like?
So we've seen an explosion in fraud over the course of the last few years, especially with the advent of moving to digital transactions in the COVID times. Many of these transactions can be compromised because more and more is just happening online. So what we are trying to do is work with the financial institutions, with banks across the globe, to be able to understand where those potential fraudulent activities are occurring and by whom. Whether it's actually because they can't prove themselves or they do prove themselves, they're creating a fake picture, they're matching to a document that doesn't really exist, or in our words, we say just creating a synthetic identity that doesn't really exist anywhere under any circumstances, but looks real when you go online.
And what's the impact of the banks not being able to keep pace with the fraudsters?
So it's hard for the banks. The banks are subject to a lot of regulations. They actually have to run a business where they're looking to both make money and service a customer as though they're shopping online. But at the same time, they're not built at the speed that the market is changing to be able to keep up with a fraudster who can buy a 50-pound piece of software and create a fake ID or even a fake face within seconds. Most of the banks are going to try and throw up roadblocks and or different types of tests as a consumer is going through a process, whether it is give me your telephone number or answer this question, or more broadly, give me more information about you. So it often comes in subjecting the consumer to more rather than less steps in a process.
And if we go back to the fraudsters who have a good knowledge of tech, which is why they're able to scam customers in the way that they can, banks are not those tech experts that the scammers are. So the banks aren't keeping up with them. Mitek has a solution. Are you the tech experts that can take on these fraudsters?
Mitek is a tech expert, an expert in the technology of defining somebody's identity as part of a regulated transaction. Think about the fraudsters themselves and the nature of fraud, which we see every single day. In many cases, you have opportunistic individuals who can use this 50-pound piece of software to be able to create a face or create a fake driver's license that then can be part of a process overall. We, on the other side, are software developers. We understand not just what tools they're using, but how to innovate around tools that actually use data science and leading technologies to be able to detect in a multi-layered approach who those fraudsters are. Always trying to stay one step ahead.
So you're making some big promises here. Can you give us the details of how your solution will help us?
There are a lot of big promises. There are big problems as well that we're trying to solve, clearly. A lot of it has to do with taking our software and being able to layer it into the process, this online shopping process that banking is trying to aspire to. It basically says when you come in and you log into a system, that we're actually going to identify you in such a way that it makes you uniquely you, either using a face or using something else that is who you are, that is uniquely you, for example. Likewise, at different stages in the process, we will check other types of details around your background to be able to create this persona around whether you are an actual individual versus something that is synthetic, designed entirely from scratch, that actually doesn't exist.
So as we continue on this theme of evolution, what are your thoughts on the future of banking?
So it's a bit scary, I will be honest with you, because I think that we're going to see evolution emerge where it's a lot more chaotic. The ecosystem is more broad. Fraudsters will be able to play more freely in this space. Why? Because technology is cheaper, faster, stronger than we've ever seen it before. And there's a lot more information that's being distributed between the fraudsters themselves. Think bank accounts, think telephone numbers, as well as the process by which they can use them every single day to perpetrate something bad on an average consumer. These will continue to persist, and they're harder and harder to detect. And so the banks themselves are going to have to evolve with that across many different dimensions. Physically in the branch, working with somebody that's online, and combining this stopping of the fraud, which is exploding, with this integration of how they're thinking about technology across all the different parts of their business.
This was Chris Briggs from Mitek.